Morning.
Morning.
Kind of.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Social Intercourse. And Vicky and I are in the same room for once. And there's a reason for that and why we look like we just got out of bed.
Yeah.
And Reggie looks gorgeous as usual. We just came back from a concert last night, and I don't think we slept because, we
didn't sleep.
Concert after effects. So that's why we look like this. Excuse us.
Sorry.
The
And our voices, well, I mean, at least my voice is pretty
I
shot,
think
so
it's very
sorry.
sexy.
Should I do this more?
raspy,
Like,
sexy.
But if our voices give out,
sign language.
it's okay. We've got
Randy can talk.
Randy will give us good stories, but
I've got plenty
Yeah,
of
today's-
material on today's topic, sadly.
today's topic. What is it? What is today's topic? It's
Why do we ignore red flags?
yeah. Why do we? It's I mean, first of all, can we even can we recognize the red flags when we see it? Because I know when I was younger, I had a hard time recognizing red flags. I didn't even realize certain habits were red flags. You're just like, oh, that's just them, and we can work on it. But I don't know. Did you recognize red flags?
No, well, sometimes, I mean, the obvious ones, right? But I think more often than not, they kind of fall in that gray area where you don't love it, but you don't know if it's necessarily indicative of an overall pattern or the person's just having a bad day. I think I struggle with where is the line between nobody's perfect and holy shit, run, that's a huge red flag.
Right. And that's the hard part. We ignore those big, holy shit, we should run away a lot of the times. Because, I mean, I don't know. Why do you think you ignore it?
Well, I think when I was younger,
I love that I
if
can't see Vicky's eyes. It's like she's in witness protection.
you guys, they're so bloodshot. I can't even I was pouring Visine in my eyes. Literally, I think I slept 15 minutes. Like I struggle today.
This is
Red
amazing.
flag is not.
This is a red flag. If you need someone walking around, run.
I'm a red
Run,
flag
run.
right now. Yeah.
Mm.
What were we talking about? Okay,
So
so
why do you
Yes.
ignore those big red flags?
So, like, if I didn't, when I was younger, I just kind of figured that that's how people were, and I just needed to adjust my expectations. And then as I got older, I saw more examples of like how men could be, or, I'd see more like, oh, that guy's like that. Oh, I don't have to put up with this shitty behavior because not all men are like that, or, whatever. So then I got a little, maybe that's why when you get older, you get really picky because you realize that you don't have to deal with the crappy ones, but if you don't want to.
I mean, our bullshit meter is just like, you
Yeah.
have enough of that energy to put up with it.
Right,
Yes.
right.
I don't know. So, I mean, let's get to the juicy bits. Let's share some stories of
Yes, Miss
how
Juicy Bits.
we ignore red flags in our lives. I mean, Randy, give us the story. We'll
Try to help us out here. The struggle is real.
Where to begin? You know,
Oh, the story starts like this.
All right, here we go.
you guys go first.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can share.
Can you do one?
Well, I started dating this guy before we started actually dating. It's the whole app thing, and we were texting and getting to know each other. And everything I said, he agreed with. Like every interest I had, every music I listened to, it was like, oh, me too. Oh, same. And then he would send me things, and I was like, oh, okay, well, he must be really into it. And I got really, we're the same. And then as we met and started dating, I was like, oh, you're not gluten free. Since when you said you were gluten free? You're eating a burger with a regular bun. Oh, mostly gluten free. It was the answer. I was like, so you're not gluten free. Let's just get that clear. And he said he listened to a lot of Korean music or something. He's not Korean, but he said he listened to a lot of Korean music in like mixes and stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't really. This is before I got back into K-pop, and I was like, I don't even listen to Korean music. That's cool, but never once heard him listen to Korean music. And things like that. He would all the things he told me that he was into, he wasn't quite into. So, but I ignored it. I was like, oh, he did this because he liked me and he wanted me to like him. But that over time can't really sustain a relationship with someone. And I didn't think of it as a red flag, but it is a red flag. He lied about who he was or his interests. So, yeah.
So like, okay, so what, when we're talking about red flags, like what is it, what does that mean? Like what is the definition of that? Is that just something where you're starting in a relationship or you're in a relationship and you see a sign and you just ignore that sign? And if it's a green flag, you go forward, and it's a red flag, you're supposed to stop and you just keep going forward?
Pretty much.
Is that
I think
it?
I think it could develop while you're in a relationship. Like, it could be going along smoothly, and then one day someone,
Changes and says they're gluten free. They're not gluten free.
or, if they start doing things that aren't in character, like, if they start drinking or they start acting out, and, then it's like, ooh. But I think it's harder once you are in that relationship because you really want to be there
It's
for
easier to ignore them
Yeah.
than in the beginning.
right. Yeah. So I shared my juice. It wasn't that juicy.
So one of my red flags was a guy that I was dating. It was pretty new, and I didn't like how he treated his mother. It wasn't overtly abusive or anything, but I didn't like the tone that he spoke to her in, and I just didn't like it. And I've read that if you want to see how a man is going to treat you a couple years into your relationship, look at how he treats his mother. And I always remembered that, and I thought, ooh. And we ended up
Yeah.
breaking up for other reasons, so I never got far enough to really know if that was, going to carry over to how he treated me. We broke up for other reasons, but I I think that was a huge red flag. And I didn't break up with him right then and there. So that's the weird part about red flags. I mean, obvious ones like physical abuse or, horrible verbal abuse or something, you'd want to walk right then and there. And those are easy. But it's the ones that are a little bit like you just kind of don't love it. But what I do is I take note of it and then I just watch and see if it's a pattern.
Right. Right. No, that whole how you treat your mom thing, that's actually a really good, and I think, yeah, that's a great indication because if you can't treat your own mother with respect, how are you going to treat the woman you love? Because that's
Exactly.
your mom. So, men, anyone listening, you better treat your moms right because we're watching. Everyone's going to be
They're
watching.
gonna be like,
now.
don't show her my mom.
Yeah. No, because you guys, sorry.
I mean, I
Are
don't
you
know.
are you the red flag?
No,
Oh, am I?
she's not.
Bring my exes on here.
No.
No, please don't ever do that.
Because I admit, I think there's times where I could have been the red flag for people, for
I'm
some
sure I
people,
have
it's like,
been.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, what is a red flag? And it depends on that person.
Yeah,
Each
for
individual
sure.
has their own, it's like a checklist, like, oh yeah, I can't, that's a no, that's a no. And I know that when I tell people that I am celiac, and they're like, oh, nope, they think of it as a red flag in a sense. They're like, oh, you're just picky. Because they don't understand that it's actual, like, my body allergy. They're just like, oh, you're a picky girl. Like
Oh,
at restaurants I'm ordering, it's like, I'm sorry, is this blah blah blah? Oh, is there? If I don't give that first explanation of why I have to eat like this, then yeah, I sit there. I look like that girl that has to order in a specific way.
trust
Yeah.
me, I've seen your entire face blow up because you touched the a little bit of icing on the box of a birthday cake, on the outside of the box of a birthday cake, and it is freaky. And it's real. It's real, everybody. She's not making it up. I've seen
It's
it.
real. Unfortunately, my allergies are real, and it's sad. But that could be another day. We'll talk about
Allergies.
people blow up in allergies. I look a little swollen right
I
now.
was gonna say, I'm like, I look really. We didn't drink that much either.
Yeah, but
It's just
I mean, so okay. Back to
sorry. I told you today's red flag is
I have
us.
I have another red flag. I just thought of one.
Yeah, I mean,
Do it.
And this is one I'd love to get your opinion on too, because I still to this day struggle with this. So, okay, I like to see who a guy's friends are because I think your friends, to some extent, are a little bit of a reflection of who you are. To what extent, I'm not sure because I mean, I have friends that I've been friends with for a long time and I've grown and changed. So maybe we don't have so much in common anymore, but they're still friends. But how do you feel about that? Because what's that saying? You're the sum of the five people you spend the most time with, so you have to like choose your company
Really?
carefully. And so I was dating this guy, and he was very respectful to me. However, when I noticed when he would get around like groups of other guys or his friends, and it just I felt like they were kind of disrespectful to women.
Yeah, that's a red
And
flag.
is that like how much of that is just like I know how guys get together, when they are when they're get together, and there's going to be like guy talk or whatever. I mean, I get that, but I don't want somebody that's completely different with me than he is with another group of people than he is with another group of people. It's like you kind of want to see some consistency. So, where's the line? Is that a red flag or is that just like guys being guys?
yeah. Well, I mean, there's that difference, as you said. Like, there's guys have that locker room talk with each other with their friends, and I know most
I
probably
mean,
all
we
guy
do it
friends do that.
sometimes. Girls do it
Right.
too.
Oh,
We
for
do it
sure.
too, but it's how you see the guys, your significant others, friends treat women in their lives, and if they have just such a different view on how they do things, and they actually in action act like how they speak to each other, then yeah, that's a red flag because your friends really, I mean, they can
You wouldn't want to be
influence.
around that, right? Like you,
Well, that's
No.
my thing. Yeah. Like if I go over, like, okay, so we're together, everything's fine. I go, well, let's go over to your friend's house and watch TV or what, watch a game because I like sports. So we go over, and then once we're there, they are disrespectful to me or I'm uncomfortable, and he is on the guy team rather than my team at that point. That's a huge red flag for me. If he's doing locker talk or whatever when I'm not around, I don't care. But when I'm there and you choose that over me, then that's the red flag for me.
Yeah, no, because there's a lot of, I've heard stories from people I know personally, things I've read where, especially if you're like getting married, and a lot of the guy friends are like, oh, dude, I don't know. Are you sure? Because,
Right? Trying to
oh,
talk you out of
God.
it.
It's like an influence. And they really, because they're their friends, they're bros, they take that into consideration. And is it they're really looking out for you, or is it they just don't want to lose their friend
their
to
buddy.
marriage? Yeah, like let's live a single life, or let's live I don't know, just like with debauchery and like don't be
Yeah.
committed.
What century is this?
I don't know,
It's debauched.
but I've seen guys do that. Okay, I loved my friends that I grew up with. I loved them, loved them, loved them, the male friends. And I had a lot of male friends, but there is one of my good friends. I'm sorry if you're listening. You probably aren't because I won't send it to you. But, I loved him. And he was dating a friend of mine. And he cheated on her all the time. All the time. But the friends around us, the guy friends, they told him all the time, dude, you have such a good girlfriend. Why are you doing this? Don't act like this. This is not right. If the guys acted in a different way, if they were like, oh yeah, get all the good, because we're young, I would have been like, I don't know if I can be friends with you guys.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it did make my trust in men from that young age, seeing my guy friend do that. Because he loved our friend, his girlfriend, but he cheated all the time. I was like, oh, if he can love someone and do that, I don't know. But
Yeah, and I
um,
think he took it like it's one thing to, I guess, talk is one thing, but does it carry over into their behavior? Maybe
right.
that's kind of
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely red flag to, oh my gosh, it's burning, it's burning. But
like on
it was like,
fire.
but it's like
Fire.
the
Yeah.
friends that were in that group, it was, yeah, like you bring up some good ones.
Yeah, she does.
So like watching the friends, how the other males react to that, that's like, oh, red flag, green flag. Like, and I know those friends who always told them that's wrong, they're so committed in their marriages right now,
Yeah.
good fathers, like happy, and they treat their wives with so much respect. So,
And
Maybe
those are
he
the
should have
kind of
been
friends
am I
that
the
you,
asshole?
yeah,
yeah, right.
Maybe he's just the asshole of the
I
group.
think he changed as he got older. So, because the friends influenced him well. So in the opposite way, friends that don't influence you well can eventually make you probably choose a
flag.
different path.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, oh, that's a good
I
one.
Thanks. I've told you I had a lot of material for today. So the next So the next
Bring
thing
it.
that I wanted to bring up, okay, so I've thought about this a lot, not just for this podcast, but just in my own self, improvement work, whatever. And I'm like, I feel like I stay in relationships too long trying to make things work. That might be my toxic trait, right? Like
Hmm.
when I should be probably walking away, I will double down. And in some situations that's good, and others it's not great. So I'm like, why do I do that? So I think one of the reasons, I must have read this somewhere, but if you grew up in an environment with your caretakers which was a little bit dysfunctional and your caretakers exhibited red flags, it kind of feels like home to be around red
Mm-hmm.
flags and have to operate in that environment. It doesn't necessarily feel good, but it feels comfortable because it feels familiar. And we do
Mm-hmm.
crave familiarity, even if it's not great. And so as a kid, you're stuck in that environment. You can't just move out. You can't just walk away. So you learn to operate in within that toxicity and tolerate it. So you become an expert
Mm-hmm.
at tolerating bullshit. So then you grow up to be an adult and you get in these relationships with people that are, showing these red flags, and you're so used to subconsciously tolerating it and dealing with it, you forget, oh my gosh, I'm an adult. I don't have to stay here. I can walk away. You just settle into what you know, which is just dealing with it. So I think I've done that
Yeah.
maybe.
That's interesting.
Do you
Yeah.
think you've worked on it and you've gotten
Yeah.
better? Because I've noticed
Yeah.
that. I think you've gotten better. Or
Yeah.
honestly, since I've known you, I always think, oh, you know what? Ranch is a person who's good at recognizing bullshit in relationships pretty fast. And I think I've
But then
said
I
this to you
stay and
too.
but then I
And
stay and
like
try to
if
work on it.
And we're
Come
like,
on.
what?
but you try. I mean, I guess it depends on the relationship you were in. But there is many where you're just like, you know what? I see a
You're out of
pattern
here.
and I'm done. Yeah. So, I mean, you give it a chance. It's not like one mistake and you're out. I've seen you give a chance, but you're
Right.
like, no, that was it. Done. So
Yeah.
I always thought, I gotta be more like that. 'Cause-
It's interesting too because I didn't grow up in a dysfunctional family or whatever. It was pretty normal. But my parents were married and they were, committed. And I think I'm kind of the opposite. So when I got into a relationship, it's not like I'm used to putting up with it, so I make it work. It was kind of like, oh, they made it work, so I should be able to make it work. And they didn't cut and run when things got difficult, so I should
Oh.
stay and not cut and run when things get difficult because they worked it out and they're still
'cause
married.
you're
So
committed for better or
for
for
better, for worse,
worse. Kind of
exactly.
thing.
So
Like,
I was like, oh, well, I need to do that.
but that's
Oh my
marriage.
gosh.
Right.
I love
I
that,
mean,
Vicky, because we are coming from completely opposite
the
viewpoints, but
opposite.
the same behavior. That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
And is it more women who ignore red flags? Is it that we were taught to work on it, that it's our job to keep the peace with like our feminine energy, to be more like,
My brother ignores red flags all the time. He's an idiot. No, I love you.
Rod.
Love you. But yeah, no, it's like, hey, this is a scream. Both my brothers actually screaming red flag. This person is mental. Oh yeah, great. Let's. I think he runs towards red flags. Actually,
Okay.
he likes the crazy, so
Yeah.
he's like, oh, more red flags, the better.
so
He's
some
just like,
people just love that.
Yeah,
They're searching for the
exactly.
drama. But if you want to stable,
You're gonna kill me. Sorry.
it's not insecurity that plays into it. Are you ignoring them because you're insecure and you don't want to lose what you have?
Who are we talking
I
about?
In general,
Oh,
people who ignore them.
that's
I
hard.
think for me, I put too much stock in someone's potential, right? Because I think that's
Uh,
one of my gifts is I can see the good in people, even if it's really buried. I can still see that in them. And that's a wonderful thing. But the problem is, I've learned the hard way. I've put a lot of work and time and effort into people that just really aren't as interested as I am in them reaching their full potential, right? Like you can't
mhm.
expect more than someone wants for themselves. And
Right. True.
if they're not wanting to do the work and they're not wanting to, step up and kind of work on some of those things, you can't just sit there and fall in love with their potential and stay for the potential. Because the sad reality is it takes a lot of work to kind of overcome some of your issues. And so most people just never get around to it.
True. I mean, I
Or want
did.
to.
I mean,
Yeah, or
well,
one, two.
let's. What are your red flags? Not like you personally as a red. What checklist like you guys have when you see something you're like, well, no,
Oh,
that's a red flag for me. That's a red. Like,
I don't know.
I mean, now that you brought up like how they treat their mom, yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on that. That is important. But I mean, there's like, TikTok has that filter where it's like red flag.
Yes. What are your red
I
flags?
mean, there's the little nitpicky
Some of them are
ones.
stupid
They're
though.
very- so, I mean, I think I did, and I was like, oh, this got me.
Like doesn't pick up their socks or something. You're like, "Pff," like, I don't know.
But there's for me now when I see that someone lies about things here and there, it may be little white lies, but that's
hmm
I'm from now on I keep that as like, oh yeah, that's I'm keeping that as a red flag. If I see that
hmm
happen, I'm going to be like, I might address it and be like, hey, you don't have to try to impress me by lying to me. But
let the truth
uh,
be enough. Like the truth is
right,
enough. The truth is always
yeah,
enough, just as it is. You don't need to embellish. You don't need to like twist it. Just let the
right.
truth speak for
Because
itself.
who do you want me to know and like for real, you or a fake you?
Yeah, well, they think they're not going to get you with the real them, so they have to have the fake them to get you.
Yeah, what's
You
that say
can't
about
keep
me?
up.
Yeah, you're up here.
No,
High
that's just saying like
standards.
this girl seems picky. Like, again,
Say high
picky girl.
standards. High standards sounds so much better than
So
picky.
yeah, that's polishing the.
Um, but yeah, I know I was reading some articles from psychologists who were saying when you're in a relationship, majority of people who ignore the red flags is because they believe they can change the person that they're with, like whatever that red flag behavior is. And I'm guilty of that. I thought, okay, I can change
Me too.
these things, but ultimately, you really can't because it's not on you to change their red flag. You're gonna be disappointed.
I don't think I
So
was that
for
way. I don't think I'm into a change. I would think I would just was like, well, I like them enough to put up with that thing
oh
Okay.
yeah.
rather than try and fix it.
So
I'd just be like,
they
well,
were
that's
hot enough. Is that what you're saying?
right, or something. Something was worth it. I don't know what, but yeah. Like, okay, that's just, no one's perfect kind of that thing we talked about in the beginning. Oh God, my voice is going. Sorry.
I guess
Water.
that's true too, because it's like, well, I'm not perfect, and I know I
I
have, yeah.
That right there is what's kept me hooked in some relationships that I should have exited from long before I did, because I feel like I think I get stuck in perfectionism a little bit with myself. And so if
Mhm.
I don't like how I've handled things, like let's say someone exhibits red flag behavior and then I don't feel like I handle that perfectly, then I kind of say, well, I didn't do great either. And
Right.
so
Who am I
I
to
guess I,
say? Mm,
right. And then I'm like, well,
yeah.
if I would have handled my part better, then maybe it would have gone differently. And so I keep trying and trying. Um, but it takes two to tango. And I have to constantly remind myself of that.
It's the
Mhm.
oh, wait, no, not manifest, projector. But I'm
Oh
thinking
my
of
God.
The projector.
No, was it projector? Yeah, projector.
waiting for the invite
We're
to be,
manifestors.
yeah. Okay. Sorry, bringing up, you guys, people, go watch the other
And
episode if you haven't seen it.
the
You don't know what I'm
astrology and
talking
human
about.
design episode.
Yeah.
Yes. Um,
But
I forgot what I was going to say. I had something. I'll think of it.
Something about
okay.
being a perfectionist.
Yeah. What else was it?
It's
Oh, it'll come to me.
so
That's okay. Well, slip it in when you think of it.
going forward. I mean, maybe this is why I'm single because I just now see red flags everywhere.
We've gone
I do
too far.
too.
I'm just like, um, I no, no, I don't even want to. No, like as I get older, I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't. But am I being my own red flag? Am I being too picky now? With it's so hard to know now.
See, the thing is, as I've decided what red flags I won't put up with, I've actually seen men that exist that are the what I want. I just don't have that particular one. So I'm like, okay, I know it exists and this is what I want to have, and I just don't have it now. So rather than being like realistic, it's more like, okay, there's only only so many really good men out there, and there's a lot of
So, but
better
that's what I'm
ones.
saying. What is what are some of the things that you, Vicky, personally don't want to put up with?
I don't have a specific list, but it's like a gut feeling. So like if I'm in something and it makes me feel bad about myself, or it makes me feel bad about the situation, that gut feeling will make me, that's my red flag. If that sets off that alarm bell in my head, or that like makes me feel crappy about myself, then that's, whatever that behavior is. And it might be different for different people. Maybe one guy, does one thing, another one doesn't, but maybe it's where I'm at. But if they can't make me feel like the best version of myself,
Mm,
then I no,
Yeah.
I can do that on
yeah.
my own.
I mean, I had a relationship, and this is so specific, but he would always keep his phone on lock. And
Mm,
I mean, I didn't know and like, I freely, like, here's my phone,
me too.
here's my
I have nothing to
password.
I
hide.
don't. Oh no,
Yeah.
my phone is you don't need to know all my business.
But, he was a very
What do you?
private person.
Same.
Nobody needs to know your business.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people in a relationship like there needs to be a little mystery. We don't have to know everything about each
But see,
other.
that's where I was like, to me, that's a little bit of a red flag because my significant other was always there was a secretive side to him. And I was like, but why? Like, what secret are you keeping?
For me, it's not a secret. It's I just keep part of myself to myself. You don't have to have
Yeah.
100% of me.
So
He might have been that way too. I don't
that's
know.
my red flag. I'm like, he would say, I trust you 90%. To me. He's like, which is so much more than anybody I've ever trusted in my life. And I know. It's like, only 90%. When we first started, it was probably like 85% and went to 90%. So, like, but that was like, to me now, that's a red flag to me now. I'm like, no.
The phone.
If I can't have you 100%, not like physically all the time, but if I can't have that feeling of like you trust me 100%, then
It's okay, we're getting a divorce then. You can't see my phone.
you've already shown me. But I don't know. Like, Randy, do you have any like specific
Is
red
that
flags that you don't?
So obviously any kind of like aggression towards me, even if it's like aggressive, like verbal aggression or obviously physical aggression. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not talking about arguing necessarily. I mean, arguing is, everybody gets in arguments, but just,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, there's some kind of like aggressive quality. I dated a guy one time and, oh, I get my blood still to this day boils when I think about this. So he was actually visiting me and I was in the kitchen and I was wiping off the counter after like lunch or something. And we were getting ready to go somewhere and he was watching me clean and he was getting so frustrated because I wasn't doing it fast enough, which was strange because we weren't in a hurry to go anywhere. And
Mm.
he literally jumped up and grabbed the paper towel out of my hand and was like, "No, we're not going to do it like we're going to do it like this." And it was crazy and I was like, "Ew. No."
Mm.
Like and I just and I saw a couple little like other things that went along with it like I had to pull the cord on that one.
No, I think I just ignored red flags even in my memory. I mean, as you were talking about that, the whole same person who lied to me about their likes and interests. When I first went to their home, there was a hole in their wall, and I was like, "Why is there a hole in your wall?"
Oh.
Punch the wall.
They punched the wall, and I
Oh.
mean, there was an explanation for it, and all. I was like, "Oh, okay." I just let it go. I was like, that's a pretty good explanation, I guess. But throughout the time, my parents knew him and they were like, he has a little bit of a temper.
Mm.
And because we all went on like a family vacation and he got upset about something, he was throwing suitcases into the car to leave. And it, I didn't even like, I ignored it. I was like, but I know he's never been like aggressive to me. He's never been, he's never raised his voice at me. So I
I
let it
think
go because I'm like, he's a good person.
I think if a guy or a girl, either one, if a person,
Mm.
they can have a temper and never turn that on you, or it could escalate to, you
Hmm.
becoming the victim of that. It's a risk, but even if they never turn it on you, it's a pain in the ass to manage. Like if you're out and they fly off
Right.
the handle, or, it's like you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you
Mm-hmm.
always have, they can't manage their temper and you don't want to be, in the middle of some kind of, whether it's like a bar
Hmm.
fight or something, altercation in traffic. It's like it's just a lot to have to help somebody manage
No.
that.
That's
Like they
true.
really need to
And
manage it on their own.
Public arguments, I think, is a red flag for me.
well,
Like you're
that's,
talking about that
Oh, I
specific thing.
hate.
Like if we're gonna
yeah.
fight, we'll fight at home. But a public argument, yeah. Like if you're gonna yell at me in the grocery store,
Uh-uh.
forget about it.
And that's
That's
what
a
happened with
Yeah.
this
huge one.
guy. Yeah. We ended up having a public, he threw a little bit of a public tantrum. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, done. After that, we were
yeah.
done. And I was like, my parents were like, well, he had a temper. You knew that. We told you he had a temper. And I was like, I ignored it.
I think gaslighting too now has become a big red flag for me. Like if you try and convince me that there's nothing going on when I know there's
Wrong.
something going on, yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't do that. Like we just like we got in a public fight. No, we didn't. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Well, I don't remember that.
your memory's wrong.
I'm like, yeah,
You,
exactly.
you're
Like
remembering it
mine
incorrectly.
saying,
Yeah.
like, I hate that.
I'm just
So,
you even bringing up the public thing, the public fighting just runs all through me because I cannot
Mm-hmm.
stand any kind of like public display like that.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
oh, mm-mm.
Well,
I
it's
don't know. I think about it too,
scary.
Randy. I'm like, oh, I remember. Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah,
grocery store fight.
so the grocery store fight was
Why is
real.
it about
It was
grocery
real.
stores?
I mean, when it comes to food, I guess
Where was your public fight?
I see this might give away.
Okay, never mind. That's okay.
It was like
Can you be general
it was
about
like a Disneyland type place. It was public
Public.
with
Lots of
lots
people around.
of people.
Got
So
it.
it was very embarrassing for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It's embarrassing. That's exactly it.
Yeah,
Even if
that's
you're
the
not
thing.
like, you don't feel personally threatened, it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like a 2 day kind of thing because we were on vacation. And I had met up with a friend and it happened a little bit with my friend and she was like
Care.
jaw dropped. And
Oh,
I was like, yeah. So,
hold it together till you get in the car or something. Like,
right.
yes,
Yeah.
no
And that's what
public.
happened because I ignored the small red
The red
flags or no big red
The
flags.
little red flags, and it becomes like the red flag
Yeah.
warning that they have at the beach where it's like 4 flags, like it has like a
Yeah.
riptide. You're in the riptide.
I ignored the, things that people told me. I ignored it. So that was my own fault. And why did I ignore it? Because I was trying so hard to make the relationship work. Because I didn't want,
Yeah.
not a failure, but I just didn't want to be the person that left it too fast or too, like, didn't even try. Which,
And I think
like,
I get stuck in the sunken investment situation where you feel like you've already invested all this time and all this work and you don't want it to go to waste,
Randy's
right? Like,
ROIs. Yeah, what's my ROI on this guy?
yeah. No, but that's
so,
real. Like, when you
yeah.
put in all this time,
So I have one for dating apps that I had.
Oh, this is good because dating
I
apps
can
are
already tell Sue
completely
is going to give me
different.
shit about this.
yeah, dating apps are
So, yeah,
a whole
so
different game.
met a guy on Tinder or whatever. I guess can I say that? Sponsor us. And
Tinder.
it's become a thing now where it's like, and I had this article with do you know who Charlie Howard is? She's a plus size model. Oh, where did I saved it somewhere in here? But I don't have it ready. But she talks about how modern dating has become this degrading, humiliating thing where you sort of have to. It's like day one, you get dick pics, whether you want them or not.
Oh, yeah.
And it's sort of like a reciprocal thing where it's like, well, I sent you a dick pic, I need to see a boob pic or whatever. And it becomes sort of this thing like, well, I don't even know your middle name and you want to see, you want naked photos and stuff. And then when you don't want to do that, it becomes, oh, well, you're just a prude or you're this or you're that. And I'm not really interested in you because you're whatever. And so it became like a thing where it was like, he goes like, oh, that's really hot. Send me another one or whatever. And I just kept doing it. I'm thinking in the back of my mind, this is really making me uncomfortable. And I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm doing it because I'm interested in this person and that's what they want. And I don't want to be seen as that frigid, like, whatever person. And meanwhile, I'm like, I could be making money on these on OnlyFans. Like, they were like, it's like, why am I giving these away for free?
I mean,
But yeah, it became sort of that thing. And then when you finally go, well, I don't want to do that anymore, then all of a sudden you get ghosted. It's like, okay, I either have to be a porn star or I get ghosted. And it's sort of like a byproduct of these apps that we have now where it's.
well, no, that is a huge red flag right away when anyone asks you or sends
So
you
I
a
don't think
dick
of them
pic.
anymore. I used to. I used to be like,
Yeah.
well, that's just how it is now. And that's just what I have to
Yeah.
do. But now I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Ladies, if you're on any dating app and a guy sends you a dick pic, run. They want your pictures. They want you to reciprocate and then blast it somewhere.
They
I
just
don't
want
know.
free OnlyFans.
Yeah,
Well, they
just
share
run.
it with their friends. They share it with their friends.
Yes.
Is what they do. So you're just,
At that
exposing
point.
yourself to a bunch of people.
Unless you want to share, that's fine. If it's all
If
willing.
it's not, like you said, if it's not a red
Again,
flag for you, it's fine.
But yeah, a guy who's going to send you a dick pic and ask you for pics, they're usually just, I don't know, assholes. They'll go on the asshole thread. they're assholes.
Yeah, she said that it was in an article in Stylist calling slut shamers, ghosters, and dick pics you didn't ask for. How Charlie Howard writes how dating became so degrading, and I was like, this girl's a model. Like, she's a plus size model. She's beautiful. I love her feed. But yeah, she's talking about how just the sort of almost sexually degrading stuff you put up with on these dating apps from these guys. I'm like, man,
I mean,
why did I put up with that? Like,
there's slut shaming, there's gaslighting.
ghosting.
Gaslighting.
Gaslighting came up with a new thing.
I mean,
I didn't ghost you. What are you talking about?
gaslighting. You ghosted me.
Made that up. But you talked to me for 2 months. Yes, I did. You just didn't get my text.
Which that is actually, it has happened to me. I have had people
Of course it has.
that disappeared and then come back months later, and you're just like, hey, and you're like, hey, I haven't heard from you.
They're the ones that will look at all your social media. You're like, why are you looking at my social media? Anyway, that's another topic, I guess. Anyway, sorry.
But it is a red flag. I won't keep talking to you if you just keep coming back every 3 months with a
And that hey, you know what that hey is? That hey is they dated someone else in between. They broke up with them, and they're coming back to you.
That's exactly what it's about.
Hey,
to
my
say.
ass. Yeah.
You nailed it. Yeah. They're just recycling.
Unfortunately.
What they
Yeah.
just keep a roster of women and they just rotate through them. And, you know, it's
Right.
easier to go back to ones you've already talked to before. So they're going to try.
I did text back to one of the hays. You're brave. No.
Hey,
So never heard from them ever again after that.
Nice try.
But yeah, let's try to recognize red flags in our lives. And I mean, we say run, like it depends on the degree of red flag. Yes, ladies, if they won't flush the toilet, like, you know,
run. Ooh, run.
if that's something that you really can't live with, then run. But, you know, let's pick and choose our battle. But, you know, like a real true red flag that you have set for yourself. It's standards. That's what it is. The standards we have for ourselves. Let's try to honor our standards and not work so hard to stay in something that is not healthy for us. It might be fine for somebody else. They might think it's healthy for them. You send them along to that person. But if it's not for you, let's try to recognize that in ourselves and in others. I will work on my pickiness. I promise.
Hallelujah.
I'll work on my pickiness. But again, not on my standards, just on my pickiness about things. So, I don't know. Vicky, you're going to do better with red flags?
No.
No?
No, yes. So yes.
You're still,
I am. That's why I'm single now. It's because I'm like, this is bullshit.
If he's hot enough, you'll still let it
No,
go.
no.
I mean, maybe.
Because there's hot ones that aren't like that out there. That's what I have to, like, you know.
I mean, yes, there are
Attract.
people out there who are well-rounded.
Exactly.
Don't give up.
You don't have to, exactly. You don't have to put up with what you don't want just because being single is awesome. And you can come live in our complex with us, like our Golden Girls. You don't have to be.
That's the old episode, people. But I don't want to be kicked out of the complex if I do find love.
We're gonna have like a separate. We'll have like a separate quadrant for like couples. We'll have like an annex, exactly. And then you're allowed to come back, you know, as things come and go.
Yeah. Okay. This is interesting because everybody has red flags that they, I think, ignore. And I'm making a bit bold statement there, but I think everyone has ignored a red flag once in their life. No?
Yeah, no, yes.
If you want to contradict me, that's
No, you said it's a bold statement. Right? It's like, well, yeah,
I don't know. It's not based on facts. It's just based on my.
You don't have an article to back that up, but you just feel like probably.
We've learned enough in politics to know that we don't need facts. We just say something and it's true.
It's not a bold statement. Sorry. It's not fact driven, but everyone has ignored a red flag in their life.
Yes.
And we're not a red flag, you guys. Come join us.
Don't ignore us, please.
Any final thoughts, Angie?
Like, subscribe, watch the commercials.
If anyone has they're like on the fence about somebody, if you're not sure if somebody's a red flag, comment. We'll let you know. Listen to us.
Yes, we'll give you advice. Really bad advice, but we'll give you advice.
No, Angie seems she's got it. She's got some good advice. She's got good pointers for red flags.
Okay. Let us know.
So much experience.
Obviously,
And
don't listen to me because I ignore some big ones.
I've got some parting
But,
advice.
mhm.
Um, Work on your own red flags and work on not ignoring them in others. How about
Thank
that?
you. Yeah. With that, everyone, thanks for joining us. See you next Tuesday.